It's really great to have you, Matt. Thanks for coming on in front of the camera. I know you've been an amazing moderator, so many of those who've been watching have been having Matt answer their questions. I am Karen Hildebrand. I'm our worldwide tech leader for the agriculture industry vertical, fourth generation farmer. I think they also pulled up some historical pics of me too, but maybe I'll get lucky and they won't show them, or maybe they're going to show them like randomly throughout the episode just to like really throw us off. Oh, no, there it is. Yeah. I went That's retro. Perfect. I know.
Well, now I've got to have my picture too, Karen. Come on.
Right? I feel like yours needs to come up too now. And I am super see there. Good. We got you.
Perfect.
And how cute of a picture is that?
Yep.
And I am super nerdy. I used to send out the U.S. Census Bureau's Facts for Futures where they did the Thanksgiving edition, and I would like pull out all the ag stats and send it to my friends. And I made my kids do the like digital version of that this year. We built an Alexa application that actually will tell them all of the facts and features this year. And so these are my kids and harvest this year. Yeah, there's me driving the combine. And I think, oh, even my dad in the pic with the kids. So Thanksgiving's a time to be super thankful for all of those that are out there producing the food that comes to our table today and tomorrow.
Wow. That's some over-the-top embracing of data. Did you build dashboards for it too?
No, but I really feel like that's a great idea, and that's totally something I would do.
Okay.
But I was really just proud of agriculture, and I really wanted to share all of the cool stories and facts that go into producing the food. And so I'm really excited about telling some of the more of the stories today about how technology plays a role in that.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm especially grateful to be joining in this episode, but Rachel's got some big shoes to fill. So I asked her to give me a little bit of a pep talk. Why don't we go ahead and bring on virtual Rachel?
Thanks so much, Karen and Matt. And if you were watching last episode, you know that unfortunately I'm not there today. I'm out on maternity leave, and I'm so sad that I can't be there with you. But I wanted to say happy Thanksgiving. I know I'm especially thankful for Karen as a co-host, Matt, who's filling in for me, who's normally our moderator, Nathan, who's normally our moderator, and our whole production team that puts a lot of work and effort into these shows. Larry, Michelle, Hans, Josh, thank you. I'm so thankful. Stay tuned. This is a really exciting episode. We're talking to and about some really interesting food companies, and you're going to gobble up the information.
I am not going to miss all those jokes. Matt, I hope you were not stepping into Rachel's pun-worthy shoes. Like, I really hope that.
Well, Karen, I'm totally ready to talk turkey with our special guests. And I feel like out of today's episode, everyone will have some new things to talk about around the table, or virtual table in this case, thanks to the current situation. Binge watching shows, staying home has been a lot of fun. But right now, I'm excited to talk a little bit of agriculture and technology.
Right on. So let's set the table, Matt. And we are going to set our virtual table here.
Right. So the virtual table is where we're going to bring each guest, they're going to bring a dish and a technical side dish.
I love it. So we'll be covering best practices of dairy, almonds, poultry, and of course, you know me, wine will be key.
Awesome. Yeah, I know we did a little bit of a pandemic-friendly kind of shipping to our guests, so everyone should have a beverage for our toast a little bit later.
Our nod to the agriculture supply chain and logistics that have gone into bringing everybody's food to their table tomorrow.
Yeah, awesome. All right, well, let's get this party started and bring in our guests. What's first on the menu today?
All right, like with all of our Twitch episodes, we have 2 customer guests, and then we brought along a special AWS guest because this is a Thanksgiving episode, and we like having some extra friends.
Great. So for our customer guests, you can tell that Karen definitely picked them because they all have family ties to permanent crops and dairy parlors themselves. So please, let's welcome everybody into our Brady Bunch style screen, and we're going to see Jordan from VAS first. Jordan?
I'm joining here from Fort Collins, Colorado. I grew up on a dairy farm, and I'm really thrilled now to work for VAS. We're a data analytics and software company that serves dairy producers all over the world.
Okay, and then let's bring on our second special guest, Michael from Bountiful.
Hey, Karen and Matt. Thanks for having me here. My name is Michael Bertino, and I lead the product here at Bountiful. And we're based out of San Francisco, California, but spend a lot of time in the Central Valley. We are a data and analytics company that provides yield forecasts and much more to the specialty crop space.
Awesome. Well, next, let's bring in our AWS guest. When Karen first said that we're going to bring the poultry guy on, I thought she was joking, but no, she was not. BRYAN literally is our AWS guy who knows everything about the birds. So from computer vision and factories all the way through production and retail, BRYAN is our guy.
I'm not sure like being named the poultry guy or not, but it's great to be here. Looking forward to it.
Awesome. And since Karen is an immigrant to the United States, she doesn't know everything about our U.S. traditions for Thanksgiving. So I had to talk to her a little bit about Thanksgiving and football as a tradition, which means that we have to talk a little bit of NFL next-gen stats in today's episode.
Yeah, I appreciate your teaching me because I definitely did not know enough about this topic. So I feel like I learned a lot too. So, but last and certainly not least, we invited our special digital assistant along today.
Oh.
And for those of you who have this digital assistant who is Amazon branded, you may want to put her on mute for the rest of the episode today so that we don't have houses talking all over as we start keying and asking questions. So I'll give you a second to go and pause that and say that this virtual assistant is helping a lot of us to stay connected this Thanksgiving. So Alexa, introduce yourself to all in the field.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me along for this food-filled agriculture adventure.
Awesome. So now that we have everybody on screen and we have our Brady Bunch screen filled up, I just wanted to raise a toast to the hard work of the essential industry this year. We know that everybody has dealt with a lot of hardships. You've had to be nimble and adaptable. You've changed operations and logistics, production lines, labor. And we just want to say thank you to each and every one of you and every year, not just this year, for bringing the food to our table and for those that are working in technology who are helping to make that possible. So cheers to everybody in the USA who's celebrating Thanksgiving tomorrow and around the world every day. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Cheers.
All right. Favorite part of this episode just happened.
Yes, that was fun. Yes. All right. So what an amazing group of people we've got around the table today. And let's get started diving deep with Michael from Bountiful. Because after a cheers, what we really want to know about is vineyards and viticulture and how they use technology.
Awesome. So let's bring back Michael on screen.
All right, Michael, can you share a little bit with us about how technology is used in vineyard operations?
We got Jordan. Hi, Jordan. We welcome you.
Hey, Jordan.
Oh, there's Michael.
Hey, guys.
Hi, Michael.
Well, what we do is bring different types of data together. I was actually in aerospace. My background is in aerospace engineering. I do not come from an agriculture background. That is something that I have learned over the course of the last 5 years. So I've learned a lot and I have a lot more to learn. But what we do is we bring in satellite imagery, weather data, geographical information, ground truth data, and derive insights from that and provide that to our customers who happen to be farmers. And when farmers start this whole process of growing food, they start at the beginning of their season and plan their whole year around yield and what they're expecting to get. Yield is the single most important thing when they're planning out what different levers they have to pull in this process of growing food, whether it's irrigating, applying fertilizer, management, getting labor and equipment together. So what we do is we provide yield forecasts and a context to the yield forecast at the beginning of the season, so they can begin to map out and plan for what they're doing every step of the way, so they have an accurate idea of the resources that they're putting in, and they're not wasting anything. Basically, we're helping them optimize this process. Yield forecasting is something that's not new. It's been done. It actually happens with a person. You know, before Bountiful came around, people would go out into the field with a visual inspection. And in the case of grapes, they would go out into the vineyards and count clusters and count how many fruit, how many grapes are on the cluster, weigh some of the fruit, and extrapolate that out. But with that result, it's a lot of labor, and it's actually has high error rate. So in grapes, you can get as high error rate with that method from 30 to 40%. With almonds, it's 20 to 40% based off of the variety and the location. And we've helped to solve that and bring that down and improve it 2 to 4 times. So our accuracy is 90% or better. And we do this through all the data that we collect in machine learning. And so it really helps them plan out their season and optimize, because you want to put the right amount of water and the right amount of inputs for what you can expect at harvest.
Yeah, and I think that's really interesting. I know in a lot of the vineyards that I've visited, the impact of the weather, the temperature range to which those grapes are exposed to, as well as the precipitation, is really key to what can be produced. How do you translate all of that data that you have into something meaningful to actually take an action or change behavior of what's kind of the natural course of what would otherwise occur?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great point. So not only do we provide a forecast, but we show a distribution. So we show a range of possibilities of what a particular crop could yield at the end of the season. And the tighter the range that we have, the more accurate our models are, and there's a higher fidelity there. But not only do we provide this range of forecasts, but we also show all the data and the inputs that go into that primarily affect those models, those forecasts that we produce. So we give context, we give a why to the what. So in some of our inputs, they show up as having a big impact on that yield. And here is a perfect example. We're down at the bottom, top drivers impacting yield. We can see that RMN, which is relative humidity minimum in February, provided over a third of the impact to this particular forecast. So this helps farmers have a better understanding of not just what they can get, but why and what is affecting that, and they can begin to make changes throughout their season. We start again at the beginning of the season so they can plan, and they only have certain levers that they can pull. They obviously can't change the weather, but you can change how you irrigate in response to precipitation, or you can change your inputs based off of what you would expect on yield and what's in the soil.
So, Michael, that's how you integrate the insights with the irrigation control, is based on some of the data that you're seeing here in this tool?
Yeah. So the next part, these are screenshots of our product. People can go and sign up to it right now at app.bountiful.ag. But this is our irrigation scheduler. And here we look at 2 of our inputs. We look at evapotranspiration and we look at precipitation. And precipitation obviously is how much rain has been collected over a certain time period. Evapotranspiration is really how much water has been evaporated from the ground and then transpired from the particular crop. So if you think of it as like an energy balance, the more that is taken out, the more that is willing to be put in. So based off of, you know, the particular age of the tree or vineyard, depending on the crop, your irrigation type, the location, the time of the year, you will get a different amount that you need to apply via irrigation. So typically you do it in a week time frame. All depends on these different parameters that you can set. You can also set it based off of how much do you want to irrigate it. Should I irrigate this crop to its full potential, or do I need to stress it a little bit and put it under some stress, particularly if it's right before harvest? So yeah, that's how evapotranspiration and precipitation can greatly influence how we irrigate.
See, and that's so cool. So everybody that's having wine at their table can be kind of thinking about all of the actual technology that goes into producing that bottle of wine, and really thinking like all the way back to how are the grapes produced, and what was the weather it was exposed to, and how much thought process really just goes into understanding your irrigation control. That's super cool. And I know that we likely don't have what's like a virtual green room here on a live stream, but Michael, we're going to bring you back on a little later in the episode. So we're going to send you back to our virtual green room in the meantime. So we'll say bye to you for now, and we'll see you again in a little bit.
All right. See you guys soon.
Thanks, Michael. So we're going to move on from our wine, which always starts a great family get together, and move on to our main course. And that means we have to talk turkey. So let's bring back Brian. Here, Brian.
Hey, Brian.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing great. So why don't you step here into the hot seat? Really want to know more about how AWS technology is being used in both turkey and in poultry, kind of in general, for production.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. I can talk about a few different ways that AWS technology is being used. I also want to call out your special episode for reInvent next week on December 2nd. We're going to have 3 of those partners: McDonald's, the Foundation of Food and Agricultural Research, and AudioT, and how they're using auditory processing to understand bird stress in the houses.
Brian, that was such a perfect call out, and their approach is super innovative. We're really looking forward to talking to them next week. Could you tell us maybe a little bit more about what else you're seeing?
Yeah, so customers are asking about our top and our middle and our bottom layers of our AI ML services to solve problems in the poultry industry. And I want to talk about 3 of them today. First, each year, 9 or 7 billion male eggs are culled out of hatching, costing hundreds of millions of dollars a year. Customers are looking at using sensors and AI to identify the sex of the egg as early as possible in incubation without penetrating the egg shell. Second, customers are asking for better ways to forecast bird placement on farms. Initially, they're looking at a few factors like capacity and dates on which a farm is ready to receive a new flock. Eventually, they want to consider other factors like lowering their hatchery to farm delivery cost and their distance, and also eventually predictive grow-outs of those birds. Finally, customers are asking for help in determining the size of birds to grow. Earlier this year, we actually did a POC with AWS Forecast that showed better results using Forecast than the current system in use. Now, while I'd love to talk about animal welfare, you'll need to tune in next week to hear how AWS is being used to monitor broiler welfare.
Awesome. Yeah, animal welfare is super important in agriculture. How do people kind of gain visibility into what's happening in their operations?
Yeah, so today people are more aware about what they're eating. Earlier this year, I worked on a POC where we used QuickSight along with weather data from AWS Exchange to visualize antibiotic use. So what you would expect is when the temperature drops, we would expect an increase of antibiotic use to go up, and when the temperature rises, we should see less. With these insights, then companies can start using this data toward farmers for the responsible use of antibiotics. I'm also really excited about what I wants to accomplish. They want to use technology to reduce the need for antibiotics in all livestock. I'm really looking forward to AWS working with these companies and research institutions to solve these problems.
Yeah. Even marketing departments now are able to use Amazon technologies to bring suggestions right into the home. Am I right, Brian?
Yeah, they are. And since Karen brought along her digital assistant, I brought along mine. Alexa,
awesome.
How do I cook my butterball turkey? Alexa,
According to Wiki.
There we go.
I didn't catch that. Please say that again.
Live fun.
Alexa, how do I cook my butterball turkey?
According to WikiHow, here's how to cook a Thanksgiving turkey. Step 1. Thaw the turkey if it's frozen. Frozen turkeys must be kept frozen.
It's a pretty long process, so I won't make everyone listen to it. So, but yeah, it's stuff like that's being used today. So
that's great.
Yeah, that's really cool. You're involving all the experts here. I know it's really fun when we keep practicing what Alexa will all ask answer for us and what she'll display. It's really quite fun to see the number of companies that are using voice assistants to bring a virtual Thanksgiving to more people and to keep us all connected. And so for the super nerdy like me, who have kids potentially that are distance learning, there is some really great resources out there to start getting your kids to build their own Alexa skills. The Alexa blueprints are super easy to use and build out kind of Q&A, chore charts, helping them get to school every day. So Nathan's going to pop some of those links into the moderator chat of how to start getting those Alexa skills built. Who knows what you might be able to answer by the end of this Thanksgiving break. Cool. And so I think, Brian, we are going to ask all of our guests this. So you're going to get to be the first one to answer, though. What are you thankful for this holiday season?
It's been a rough year, I think, everywhere you look, right? So I'm thankful for my family and my kids. That's that we're kind of keeping it all together as best we can. So, looking forward to better days ahead, but, can't have a Thanksgiving without my family, my wife, Crystal, and my kids, Will and Kate. So I'm thankful for them.
Great. Good answer. Brian, so thanks so much for joining us today. We're going to bring on our next dish, which really has so many different places on our table, Karen. We're talking about cheese, butter, whipped cream. It all comes from dairy. And so let's bring out Jordan, who's going to talk to us a little bit about some dairy operations. Jordan, welcome to the show.
Hi, Karen and Matt. Great to be here.
Yeah. So Jordan, welcome. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your history with dairy operations, and kind of what led you to VAS.
Sure. So I'm a fourth generation dairy technologist. I grew up on a dairy farm not far from where I live now, out in the northeast part of Colorado. My dad actually grew up in South Africa, and he milked a handful of Jersey heifers and cows, and he supplied a lot of the milk to the local community, and saw actually when he was growing up in South Africa quite a lot of malnutrition, and he saw how dairy can really play a role to address that condition. Meanwhile, my mom was growing up on her family's farm just outside of Denver, so she grew up learning from my grandpa and from her grandmother, so my great-grandmother, how to milk cows and how to take care of them. And when I was 1 year old, my parents took a loan out of 200 cows from my great uncle. And then over the course of my childhood with my brother, really scaled that. So today they're farming and caring for 6,000 animals in that same farm up north in Colorado. And the reason that that's really been possible is technology, radical adoption of technology. Part of it has to do with nutrition science. Part of it has to do with really the dairy industry adopting a lot of elite genetics and artificial insemination. But a really big part of being able to keep track of all of those animals and give them the care that they need on an individual animal level is data management and tracking software. So my first job on the farm was actually feeding calves. I was 6, so I wasn't very good at it. But when I turned 12, I graduated into being able to put our animal health records into DairyComp. DairyComp is the flagship software product that the company that I work for, VAS, has today. And so I'm really thrilled to be able to work with them and think about how we can use modern technology tools like the ones offered at AWS to bring that tool to the fullness of what it can offer for dairy producers.
Wow, that's really cool. How many cows actually do you have data about in the VAS systems?
Yeah, so for VAS, we have dairy health records on about 5.5 million of the 9 million cows in the United States. And that accounts for about 75% of the fluid milk supply in the US.
That's phenomenal. And when you really think about the amount of data that's collected, I'd love to know a little bit more about how VAS thinks about data. I know in speaking with the team there, we really talked about how to be intelligent in that storing of the data and understanding, what's useful now and then what might be useful in the future. So I'd love to kind of hear a little bit more about what's the thought process about the data that's being ingested there.
Yeah, so we're pulling in data from all over the dairy farm with lots of IoT devices and through manual data entry. And our purpose is really to decorate every cow with as many data points as possible for two reasons. One is so that a farm worker that's standing next to the cow in the field can use our mobile app and understand immediately all of the salient facts about that animal so that they can provide her the very best care possible. The other reason that we really want to decorate cows with as many data as possible is because our dairy producers, they're all CEOs, and they all have to make strategic decisions about how they're going to manage the entire farm. And they're using advice from trusted advisors, from geneticists and nutritionists and agronomists and all the other ists, veterinarians, to have really great data-driven conversations about the truth of that biological system. So we're trying to bring all of that data together and then surface it at the right time. So what's really helpful about Amazon Web Services is the ability to tier when and where we can access that data. So some of it's on ice for a long time. Other stuff needs to be right there, right now. So we use a lot of those tools.
I love that, especially the on ice. Like, that's such a great mental picture when you think about Glacier. I'm like, oh yeah, it's like data on ice. It's perfect.
Yep.
I like it. So Jordan, having grown up around dairy your whole life, I have this like personal pride about the projects that I've most proud of being involved in. I always ask this question of those that have grown up in operations themselves. What's the project that you're most proud of having been involved in?
Yeah, so I think when I think about dairy technology, there's just so much of it. Everything from incorporating RFID tags on every single one of our cows, that's a very common practice in the industry now, to having connected milking machines that are measuring the milk. But the one that I'm really excited about is activity and rumination systems. So this video is actually from one of our very best customers, Dairy Dreams. And what you're seeing on the cow's necks right there, that's Alta Cow Watch. So that's a connected device that's measuring a whole lot of things about the cow. And it's really about her happiness. It's measuring how her jaw's moving. Cows don't eat when they're unhappy. They only eat when they're content. And they only chew their cud. So like they literally kind of swallow their food and then kind of regurgitate it and then chew it again. And when they're chewing it again, they only really do that when they're happy. And so this is what the device is really measuring, that jaw movement, and also the number of times that she's up and moving around, which is also an indicator of how happy she is.
Awesome. Well, talking about all this data that you guys get, and I guess what kind of, where it gets down to dairy is like, when you got the data and you're looking at the quality of the milk, how do you kind of correlate the two between the cow happiness and then the output measure of quality of milk?
Yeah, so that's a lot of what we're doing with our cows. What we're doing is collecting all of the different data points we can so that we can map those relationships. Exactly, Matt. So we collect her medical health information. We optimize her nutrition. Like I wish that I had a private nutritionist that was tailoring a ration every day for my metabolic needs. That's what we do with some of our other products called FeedWatch. We're also tracking her happiness, like we talked about. And then we're also measuring her outputs, right? We're measuring a lot of times the weight of the milk, the amount that she's producing every day. But beyond that, we're also measuring her fat and the protein content within that milk. And as technology is advancing, like today, this past couple of months, we've actually released a new product that can not only look at the fat, but the types of fats that are inside there, which tells us something about how healthy and happy her metabolism is. And then another thing that we measure is her poop. We have an agronomy arm and a bunch of labs that really look at soil tests, plant tissue tests, but also manure tests so that we really understand how our metabolism is working. And we can take all of that data and put it together and think about, so that every producer can be really thinking about how happy her cows are, what her environmental impact is, and then what her profitability is so that she can stay in business.
That is amazing. Like, just listening to that, I'm like, oh, I collect a lot of data on my wrist, but I might have like a new necklace next time you see me, and it might be looking like that, because I feel like a nutritionist that was that personalized sounds pretty amazing. Maybe not while I'm eating my Thanksgiving meal, though, afterwards. Uh, but thanks, Jordan, for joining us and really helping break it down, what's happening and what's bringing that milk products to our table. And last question, since it's Thanksgiving, what are you grateful for this season?
I'm just really grateful for technology that allows us to connect, all the ways that we've seen throughout this episode, and to bring the whole food supply chain to everybody's table is really cool.
Awesome. Well, this has been really great, Jordan. I know watching robotic parlor operations and data collections from VAS has helped me, kind of get a better understanding of the amount of work that really goes into dairy farming and putting all this dairy right on the table, ultimately, hopefully into my pie, of course. So thanks so much for joining us, Jordan.
Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Okay, so I am now stuffed from our main course, and I am ready to get my lesson. I know nothing about football other than I love the Deshaun Watson ad that plays on TV. That has got to be like one of my favorite things. I realize that we have next gen stats as part of that. I did not realize like how that
looks like. This diagram is especially rough. It just got it quite a bit better. So this is actually our diagram on how this next gen stats works. And I know that you have taken a look at it and studied a little bit, Karen.
I have. I was very excited about the fact that they are able to bring all of this information in from the stadium and then process it in real time. Like, that's really cool to me. I did not realize like the volume and velocity. And when you described it as a tractor, I did actually have to start doing some more studying, because I was like, oh yeah, that's the same amount of data. They may run at approximately the same speed. And then there was a stat that said that one of the guys can run at 22 miles per hour. And I was like, oh, that's faster than a tractor can go down a field. So I got excited about that. I get excited about these stats. So I know we also talked a little bit about how they were able to do that. And they showed me that there's actually embedded sensors inside the equipment, and that connects in the field as they're moving. Yeah, this is really cool. So then I was like, oh, this is even more like a tractor, because we definitely have a lot of sensors on those. So it was pretty fun for you to actually explain that to me. But I realize I will not be an expert. So I'm going to go back and say, like, let's talk about something I am good at. Let's talk about snacks, because I know I wouldn't get through a football game without snacks, and I make an epic nut mix. And so then I got into a nut conversation with Michael, because obviously Bountiful not only does grapes, but it also monitors nut production. So let's bring Michael back on and ask him some questions about how my favorite nut mix maybe gets made. What's the tech that's involved in almond production, Michael?
Yeah, so that's a great question. We're trying to expand into very many different crops. Our main focus is specialty crops. So like you just mentioned, not only do we forecast and provide analytics for grapes, but we do that for almonds and walnuts, and are moving into a variety of new crops. But I love almonds, or almonds, depending on who you talk to. But since we're here in California, we export 80% of the world's almonds. That's huge. And we're very passionate about bringing data and information to these different spaces. And that's true certainly in almonds. So I would say that something that we just added, I'm very passionate about. We added a new aspect to our product, and that is called Market Insights. And in Market Insights, we bring together various different sources of information, just like we do for the yield side, but it's for the industry and what are things that are happening and affecting market dynamics. So things like pricing for particular products within almonds, export data, how are shipments and things looking as we're exporting to different countries. What are different varieties doing? What are the trends on new varieties that are coming online, or older varieties that we're not really using anymore? What is the total supply that we can expect for a season? What is the currency doing? What's in the news? And then something that I'm really excited about is a virtual coffee shop. And that's really just a way for our users to come in, and especially in the age of COVID, where maybe there's some restrictions and limitations around meeting together, but you can come into our platform and answer questions and see results and see what's happening in the rest of the industry. What's the sentiment around? What did you expect the yield would be for the state, for instance? And you can see everybody else's sentiment. And we built this as a way to bring all this information together because that hasn't been done before. It was always segmented or siloed out, and different people along the value chain were exposed to different types of information. So we wanted to democratize that information and bring it all in one place. So something that's new, it's something that we're very passionate about at Bountiful.
Yeah, that's really great. You're helping the nut producers kind of make informed decisions. You get this virtual coffee shop, which, like you say, is really important right now, where you don't necessarily have all the same options of meeting in person. But obviously, we're on a tech show here. So, what's kind of helping you kind of surface some of the insights that you're bringing to bringing the people together?
Yeah, well, a big benefit that has helped us as we bring in new products to our platform is our infrastructure and our pipeline. So the tools that we're using via AWS, things like S3 and EC2 instances and the scheduling via Lambda, those are all things that are already in place and allow us to quickly scale to something like market insights very quickly. We're a startup, we're a very lean company, and we heavily rely on what is called agile software development. And that really meshes well with the AWS tool sets. So that's something where we quickly develop, plan, execute, push live, and get feedback on, and then go through that cycle again. So it provides for very quick iteration. And when you have the tools available and ready to do that, it makes it that much easier.
Awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that idea of the virtual coffee shop. I know that's something where there's a lot of exchange of ideas. So being able to do that in a way that's safe and remote, I think, and still bringing people together is a really great innovation that you're adding to the platform. So I asked everybody else, and now it's your turn. What are you thankful for this holiday season?
Oh, man, so much to be thankful for. First of all, thankful for family. Thankful for just all the support that they give me no matter what. I'm thankful for our team. We have a very bright and dedicated team. And in today's world and COVID, you really get to see when the stress is on, how people react and perform to that. So that's been amazing. And then, lastly, I'm thankful for our customers who have grown with us, who have supported us. They also happen to be farmers, so I'm thankful for all their hard work and providing food and keeping our grocery stores stocked, especially around the holidays. So a lot to be thankful for.
I think that is exactly it. We have a lot to be thankful for from all of these essential industries. So let's go to our own virtual coffee shop for this Thanksgiving show, and let's see what questions our viewers have. I know there's been lots popping into the chat over here on the side of the screen. All right,
There
Matt,
are a
up
couple.
for you.
Yeah. So we're going to have to keep this segment a little bit short. Can we bring maybe all five of us up here for a moment? The first one that I see here, and it's at the bottom of the list, and I'm a little bit suspicious about this one, to tell you the truth, is somebody named Hungry Rachel. And the question is, Jordan, do you use those cow massage brushes? I couldn't believe that was a real thing when I heard about it.
I have not personally used one of those because cowhide is a different level of tough than human skin. But yeah, cows love that stuff. They love getting all that oil rubbed out. It's like a facial for cows. They love it.
Awesome.
I love that clarification too. I'm really glad you have not personally said that.
Yes, exactly. That's perfect. We got one more here from Raquel SS84. Question for Jordan at VAS. Among the IoT sensors that are used, is computer vision also a part of it? And if so, how many cameras do you kind of get used in the dairy farm?
Oh, that's such a great question. Computer vision is a really emergent space in the dairy industry right now. There's a lot of really cool startups going on right now. Cattle Care, Cattle Eye, Canthus, EIO Diagnostics, more I could name. And it's really cool, actually, because we recently did a landscape analysis of them, and they're all looking at insights in different parts of the farm. So like right now, cattle care is really looking at human vision inside the parlor where the milking is happening to see how are the employees doing sanitation and things with the cows. And that's really different than what Candace is doing, which is very much around feed insights and how much are those cows eating. And then cattle eye is doing a lot of really interesting things on lameness and mobility scoring. So we're seeing like a lot of cameras show up in lots of different parts of the farm. Good.
Great. Awesome answer. Well, I think we better pull the plug on this segment and move on here, Karen.
Well, that's because I'm getting hungry and I think it's time for pie.
Okay.
And Matt,
all right.
you brought pie.
I've been making some promises. I have brought some pie, and here's the pie.
Oh, are you serious? I literally was going to eat my pie like alongside you. I even cut myself a piece and I was going to eat it with you. But you went with
I
raspberry.
also brought that type of pie for you. Don't worry. But
Okay,
this one is a
right.
very special pie. It's a special project called Heater Meter, and we're going to talk through it here. The process of building, setting things up, and then doing an actual cook here for Thanksgiving turkey in our field tips and tricks segment. Let's move to that now.
All right, Matt, will you share how you built your pie?
I will. And we're going to abbreviate this segment just a little bit because we're running a bit behind time. So really, yeah, exactly. No worries here. But basically, Heater Meter is an open source barbecue controller. The one that I built has enough space, enough ports on it for kind of 2 meat sensors and then one for your oven or for your barbecue grill or whatever you want to use. We've got some photos here we're going to take a look at. The first one is just the LCD and the circuit board. And on the second one, we kind of put the LCD and circuit board together with what's called the thermocouple. Next up, we're going to mate the LCD thermocouple and attach it. This is the two of them mated together here. And then next, we're going to show the Raspberry Pi. And that happens to be Raspberry Pi 3 is the one that I happen to have laying around for this case. But it was really cool because, you know, the project itself, you can kind of do in several different levels of expertise. The version that I did, I kind of bought the pre-assembled circuit board, so I didn't have to do the soldering and all that work myself. But you know, if you have that level of expertise and you want to go through the more detailed, rigorous form of this project, it's not hard to do either. Let's move to the next picture. Following kind of the instructions, I was able to, you know, download and burn the image, the operating system image, onto an SD chip, put that into the Raspberry Pi 3 and fire it up. Here it is. Now you can see it's running, and it shows that probe 1 has a temperature of 73 degrees, which must be the temperature in my office here. So I'm feeling pretty confident that things were working. If we can move to the next photo. Yeah, here's me just kind of verifying and showing, you know, the real operating system is loading. It's Linux, it's Raspberry Pi, and it's just connected there through HDMI on my computer. So at this point, I felt pretty good that things were working. So yeah, that's really it. You kind of put all the pieces together. That's the Raspberry Pi 3 picture again. You burn the image and you fire it up. And once you get everything kind of working, you feel comfortable, you're ready for your cook. So maybe we can move down to some of the pictures of what we did in the cooking section here. So I got everything assembled, and you'll see off on the right-hand side, I did purchase an extra 3D printed case for this because it was working so well for me, honestly, Karen. I'm like, you know what, I might be using this. So I bought a 3D case, gives it that nice finished look, right? So if you want to just cycle through a couple of these pictures here, this is what the actual software that Heater Meter provides looks like. And this is showing you kind of my oven temperature during the preheat and getting up to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. And then the internal temperature from the meat probes as well. Here it is, the turkey's all loaded up, ready to go in the oven with the meat probes off to the side. I used an oven bag. It helps keep the moisture in. I had brined it previously as well. And then here's a picture after. Yeah. Here's a picture kind of after the turkey's done cooking. So took it out, put it out to rest for a little while, I think is the next picture. Here it is resting. And then after that was done, just kind of carved it up, removed all the pieces and laid them out. And we're going to be eating on it all week, actually. I froze some so that I still have Thanksgiving turkey tomorrow.
That is super brilliant. Okay, so with every tech project, there's always a what would I do different, or what's the tip that I learned as I actually put it together? What was the thing you would advise us if we're going to build our own heater meter after seeing your amazing looking turkey? And will you guarantee it looks like that if I build it? That would be amazing.
We might have to talk a little bit more, but I think we could get you there for sure. Yeah, so that's our tip and trick for the week. One of the things I kind of learned while I was doing this project, I got everything loaded onto the operating system. You saw it up on my computer monitor. I logged in and I was kind of hacking around trying to figure out what to do. I wanted to get the data up into Amazon IoT Core, right? Of course, because that's where you can start to do all the analytics. Struggled to do that for a couple hours. I really wasn't finding anything. And I was looking around their website, and I think the moderators will add a couple links here to some of the websites for Heater Meter. But I found out they have this really cool API. So in addition to the website that's hosted on your Raspberry Pi, the same website also kind of hosts an API that you can call remotely from your home network. So I went back to my home PC, pulled out Python, pulled out the IoT SDK, wrote a script where I'm just kind of going, sleep for 5 seconds, hit the website, the API, grab the data, and that was pretty easy for me to kind of onboard just a script like that into IoT Core and be a thing, and then write all that data to an MQTT topic. Got it in there, and that was really kind of my tip for the day. Always read up on the APIs. Sometimes it's really hard to get in there and mess around with the nitty-gritty components of something. If it has an API, by all means, leverage that. It makes it so much easier.
I am a big fan of that tip. That is fantastic. And hopefully that makes us all more successful too when we get to that point and we can start using the API instead if we need to. So it's always good to have multiple tools in your toolbox. I have to wake my Alexa back up.
Yeah, you're going to talk to us about something here, Karen. You did another project.
I also felt like because you went full on nerd on me just now, I need to end this episode and this year of Thanksgiving with my own little stat. And I have to make sure that our little friend gets to talk. So Alexa, can you tell me how many turkeys are produced in the United States?
Here's something I found on the web.
Oh, she didn't answer the way I wanted her to. Shocking.
Top 5 states,
Alexa,
right?
What?
I think it's, Alexa, can you tell me how many turkeys are produced in the top 5 states?
Sorry, I'm not sure about that.
I was like, she's not going to listen to your voice. She's only trained
No
by
way.
me. I totally did that. But I do have the Alexa skill built out for all of the U.S. Census Bureau information for the Department of Agriculture and the National Statistics Service that's related to that. So if you, again, want to go build out your facts for features, they have published 5 different special facts for features for the holiday season that includes facts about Thanksgiving, agriculture, Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Go nuts, send them out. Be a stats nerd like me is really what I'm saying.
That's awesome.
And as always, connect with us after this episode. Tweet us at #AllInTheField.
Yeah. And thanks again. We will see everyone next time for our special reInvent version of All in the Field.
And that will be on December 2nd. So thanks for joining us on AWS Agriculture Live.